My name is Bob Perleyberg. We are 7 miles east of Camp Ripley. We're presently in a stand of conifers that my wife and I planted 20 years ago. The CSP program has funded our ability to control blister rust in this particular stand in the white pine by pruning, and it has also helped us improve the quality of the red pine through pruning also. My wife and I have 480 acres. We've been managing this for timber and wildlife for the past 25 years. We've been involved with the NRCS with a number of different projects through the planting of these trees. We're standing in through some wildlife opening maintenance, pollinator habitat for bees, and finally now the CSP program, which has provided us funding to pursue the management of the property. When we purchased the property, the majority of the property was pastured. It was grazed and farmed. The area we're standing in right now was actually a cornfield when we first bought the property. We've improved the property. I think the improvements we have seen have been very dramatic. For better or worse, we now have bear we didn't have before. We have timber wolves that we didn't have before. We have Blanding's turtles that we found on the property. We have eagles nesting on the property. It has, in 20 years, the change in the forest, the change in the wildlife community has been very dramatic.
Wildlife habitat, forest resiliency, and Camp Ripley's mission all benefit from NRCS's new contribution agreement with the Morrison Soil and Water Conservation District.
So we were recently awarded $400,000 through the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and that was to deliver forestry capacity in our Camp Ripley Sentinel Landscape. So we've hired a forester to work with private landowners in the 10-mile area around Camp Ripley.
Having this cooperation with NRCS and having an NRCS forester here gives us another opportunity to partnership, which is the heart of what we do with our environmental programs, all in an effort to keep the installation from having any kind of problems. Problems with either an inability for soldiers to train and do what they want to because of an environmental concern, or actually creating environmental concerns with our training.
So when a lot of people think about Camp Ripley, they think about the 53,000 acres, and it's a really big chunk of land. However, from a landscape perspective, it's really not that big, especially in terms of the acreage needed for a lot of the wildlife that use Camp Ripley. So we have gray wolves, we have a large population of white-tailed deer. By helping manage the lands and the natural resources outside of Camp Ripley, it really helps to support that unfragmented landscape and provides the habitat these species need. Because as habitat fragmentation occurs outside of Camp Ripley, those animals move on to Camp Ripley. And that puts additional pressure from us, from managers, to deconflict environmental stewardship, natural resource management with military training that occurs out here.
In my mission statement, I got 3 tenets. The first tenet is to train our nation's military for our nation's worst day. The second is to train our National Guard for our state's worst day. But the third part of that is to be the best community partner it can be. So having this forestry subject matter expert here is part of that partnership in improving community relationships and improving our neighbors around the installation.
That's such a great opportunity for us, partnering the Camp Ripley Sentinel Landscape program with the NRCS entity to support capacity, because it allows us to really focus and target our outreach to landowners in this specific geography to focus on forestry practices, things like prescribed fire, forest management, and really create a culture of forest management in our neighboring Sentinel Landscape community. And now we have the capacity with Lou coming on board to deliver that. And so that's a great opportunity. Couple that with the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, NRCS dollars to fund practices, and now all of a sudden we've got capacity to deliver, the money to do the work, and now it's engaging with landowners here forward.
Nearly $2.8 million in NRCS assistance is tied to a 5-year Regional Conservation Partnership Program renewal centered on the Sentinel Landscape. It took effect in July 2022. The Perleybergs made improvements through the previous RCPP.
As any private landowner will tell you, one of the biggest hurdles in owning a property of any size are the costs associated with the ownership of the land. And the CSP program has been a great way for us to help defray some of the tax burden, and it has also provided technical support for us. If we have questions on a project that we are trying to implement, there's always help available, whether it's through the NRCS itself or through one of the partners like the DNR, the Division of Forestry. There's a wealth of knowledge that being involved in the program makes available to the private landowner.